Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Now today we are going to be reviewing Cutie Honey A Go-Go. This is written by Shinpei Ito, but it's based on a Go Nagai character, and this specific book I think is actually based on a movie by Hideaki Anno, which is the guy that made Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is published by 7 Seas, as you guys can see right there. And the demographic here is seinen. Now, in terms of genres here, we're looking at a sci-fi story. Androids, superheroes, fighting in the city, that sort of stuff. Pretty kind of like tokusatsu-esque. Like Power Rangers, basically. But it's not really Power Rangers. It's more like Magical Girl type of stuff, right? Like, I think this is kind of the original Magical Girl story. I'm not really sure. But there's definitely elements of like Magical Girl-esque type of stuff here. So I think that's a genre that we can apply here. And I don't necessarily know that it works, but kind of Yuri. There's a lot of like Yuri undertones here. All the main characters, except for one of them, are female. All the bad guys are female. You know, it's all about like women versus women. And it kind of has those kind of moments where there's like undercurrents of sexual tension between the female characters, and so you kind of could argue that it is Yuri, but there's actually no proper romantic interest between two female characters. So in that sense, it's not really, but you know, I did want to mention it here because it is a thing that kind of happens throughout the book. And adaptations wise, there is no specific adaptation for this book, but like I said earlier, it's based on a Go Nagai character that has had a lot of different versions put out into the world in manga. I think there was a light novel, movies and cartoons, and of course a movie by Hideaki Anno, which is what this is supposed to be based on according to the author's notes. And the premise here is that this evil organization by the name of Panther Claw is terrorizing Japan, you know, as they do in manga. And it's only Cutie Honey, this person right here, that can stop them. And with the help of this government agent named Aki Natsuko, they kind of have to figure out who this organization is and what is their goal. And it's actually kind of interesting because the story kind of is just an origin story. It ends when they kind of figure out what's going on. And it sets up like this altercation between Cutie Honey and this bad person, this like leader of this evil group. But it like feels like a complete story, and you know that there's going to be something later, but then nothing was published that kind of like finishes out the story. So it's kind of like a Western comic book in that sense. It's like an origin story movie, but in a manga format, which is actually really interesting. It's just kind of like, man, I would have really liked to see that big fight. But, you know, whatever, it happens. Apparently there was issues with this manga even getting published. So, you know, tough luck, I guess. So, the plotline here is solid. There's a very good Power Rangers-esque aesthetic here. Obviously, I think actually Power Rangers and like Super Sentai is based on stuff like this. So, in reality, this feels like Power Rangers because it's the predecessor to Power Rangers. At least like the idea, right? So pretty cool. Monster of the Week kind of style, although it's more like Bad Guy of the Week. So it's kind of like those CW shows, like Arrow and Flash and stuff, where each week they deal with a different bad guy, and the whole kind of thing is also kind of tied to a bigger story across the, you know, season or whatever. And cool. I like the style and the plot structure. It's very kind of like interesting. It has a secondary mystery plot with it, which I actually quite like. And it's actually quite action heavy. Like basically every chapter is a fight near the end of it, at least. If not more than one fight through every chapter. There's only 10 chapters. So it's actually quite packed with a lot of action stuff going on, which I think is really good. It kind of helps the story feel really fast and upbeat and kind of like keeps you moving across, which is wonderful. I really do like it. And what else is there? Like, there's a few kind of moments of emotional, like tearjerker moments, which is really good. I think it was really nice, but it's all kind of based around like family and like, you know, a robot feeling human emotions and stuff like that. So it's kind of very like early 2000s, kind of like technology based man versus technology type of stories. And I just really did enjoy it a lot. But you know, it's not by any means the greatest story ever. It was just a really fun kind of like action filled story. So it's kind of like a blockbuster movie. You just like sit down and chomp on some popcorn while you drink your Coke and, you know, turn your brain off. It's very much like that. And it was like a solid, you know, way to spend some time. So pretty good there. Characters wise, solid. There's really just 3 characters. There's Cutie Honey, Aki, and then Seiji, which is the reporter guy. And there's kind of like a mystery behind with him. And then there's a few bad guys. But none of them are actually really kind of like that interesting. They all kind of have cool designs. They're all women. They all kind of have like some sort of way to get linked back with cats because they're all part of the Panther Claw group. And they all kind of have this like really kind of like over the top, almost grotesque situation going on with some sort of like sexualizing aspect to them. Like the first one, I think, was like supposed to be French, and she had like scissors, but she had this really odd kind of like burlesque harlequin outfit. Then one of the other characters was like an acrobatic, like someone that does acrobatics at his circus, with like a really tight kind of like thing to them, and they had really odd facial features. And then the one that was the most normal was kind of like a, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be politically correct anymore, but a kind of like Native American getup. And she was actually kind of the most normal one. She didn't really have anything weird to her. It was just kind of like, she was also the most boring. So I don't know, it was kind of weird, but I really did enjoy like the characterization and the way that the evil people were designed. It all kind of fit with this whole idea of like a beautiful girl that happens to be a warrior type of thing that they kind of were going for. And, you know, it makes sense that the bad guys are also kind of like beautiful in their own way, but also kind of really like grotesque to kind of physically show that like ugly soul kind of thing that we kind of see. I think it's kind of similar to Powerpuff Girls in that sense, but I'm not really like sure. So yeah, overall, really interesting. Like, my favorite character was Aki. She's just so badass. And she was, like, a hard ass, but she was, like, really interesting in a way that was, like, yeah, you're a horrible, like, like, I would not want to hang out with you, but seeing you in this way is really interesting, and it's really fun, and it's cool. It was just, like, a really badass woman being badass with, like, really no, you know, external, like, necessities to her, which is... It's kind of cool. I really do dislike that whole kind of idea of the strong, independent woman that falls apart anytime she meets a guy. But at the same time, I don't really hate the whole idea of, like, a strong, independent woman that's also in love, right? And Aki didn't really fall into either camp. She was kind of, like, in the middle. And I really liked her because she managed to kind of deal with, like, both sides of that equation, right? She managed to be a badass person that, you know, most would ascribe to male characters in a way that didn't drive away the fact that she was a woman and that she was interested in love and stuff like that. So it was really cool. It was like a really interesting kind of way to combine and develop a character that felt kind of, maybe not realistic, but interesting enough compared to a lot of, you know, characters in other types of manga stories. So I actually really like that. But that's basically it. It's like, it's not that deep. It was just kind of interesting that she was able to kind of navigate and be a character that doesn't really miss anything. So that was really cool. Now, world building wise, pretty minimal, but there's some pretty fun kind of like hand waving technology. You know, they kind of have like a technobabble kind of moment where they just explain all the technology and how it works. But it's like very clearly not realistically visible or viable in science. It's just kind of like good enough to be like, okay, I can understand it. But it was fun. It was enjoyable. And that's basically it. It was just like little tidbits here and there to keep you interested and to kind of explain how Cutie Honey can do what she does. and you know, I enjoyed it. Art-wise, it's not really amazing. It has kind of this old feel to it, but it wasn't bad either. It was just really enjoyable. The facial features for a lot of characters don't look good compared to everything else about them. Like, they look fine, but then you look at their face and it's like, bruh, why? I guess the point was to make them ugly, like I said earlier, so it doesn't really matter. But like, they could have looked nicer. Like, the proportions could have been better. Like, it's not like an aesthetic thing. It's more of a, like, it just doesn't look that good kind of thing. I don't know. But it wasn't horrible. And overall, I enjoyed it. It's just, like, a little bit messy here and there. With kind of, like, the proportions more so than the aesthetic choices. So, I don't know. That's just me. I don't really have any real experience with art, so, yeah. And, yeah, fan service wise, there's quite a bit of fan service. This is almost falling into that kind of like TNA type of comic book. So there's a lot of boobies, and there's a lot of butts, and overall it was like fun, but like it's not great for younger audiences. So there you go. Rating wise is a 3.5 out of 5. This is definitely above average, and in fact it's even above like good. It's just like not awesome, you know what I mean? It's just like a fun movie that you went to watch in the summer and you just like enjoyed, but like you wouldn't really watch again anytime soon. But you know, if it ever comes up on Netflix, you'll be like, oh yeah, nice, I'll watch it now. But yeah, it's not bad enough to get rid of. Like, I won't sell this because I definitely would enjoy to read it again, but it's not something I'm gonna read again anytime soon. It's kind of just like gonna be on the shelf until I feel like reading it again. So there you go. That's kind of what that means. But yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a fun title, and if you can find it cheap, that's probably better. I got it for $6, so it really was not bad at all for me. I got it brand new from Books A Million because they had it like on discount. Because it has like really bad yellowing on top compared to everything else. So yeah, if you can get it cheap, I would definitely recommend it. But if you don't want to spend $16 on it, you know, if you're not a fan of Cutie Honey, or if you're not really that interested in sci-fi manga, maybe just don't pick it up. It's all very kind of situational, but if you can get it cheap, I definitely recommend it for sure. Now, similar titles, I don't really know any because I haven't really read that much sci-fi manga, but I guess Dirty Pair falls into the same kind of idea. And then Comic Girl and Sansa, I think, or Sansa and Comic Girl, that would also kind of fit in the same idea. Because those are all kind of like the three sci-fi manga that Seven Seas has put out that aren't like True Love Ru. So there you go. Or that aren't classic collections either. So yeah, obviously the classics collection Cutie Honey version will also be pretty similar, but I don't know how similar it would be. Like, I don't know if it's if this heavily borrows from it, or if it's just kind of like two separate stories with like the same basic character, and it's kind of a rehashing of the origin story to fit with modern ideas. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I really do appreciate when you guys do. If you did like the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought, and thank you guys once again for watching. I really do appreciate it. See you guys later.